former mayor of Durango. He's got a list of boards and councils and such that he's involved with, and obviously a great speaker. Thank you very much, Doug. I also want to take this opportunity to thank President Thomas. This college has not been poised to be as successful in any time in the recent history as it is today under the leadership of Dean Thomas. And we just really, really appreciate the job that you're doing. And the things that you've done in a fairly short period of time are really incredible. Thank you. You know you're in trouble when you start a speech and your notes look like this and there's lines going down here and handwriting, so bear with me. I also, this evening, have worked with the folks in the archives department. Believe it or not, we have a short film at the end that I'd like to share with you of a promotional film going back to 1987. Promotional film of Fort Lewis. I think you'll get a good kick out of it if nothing else. It's really interesting to see how far we've come. I want to just say that being here this evening is a huge honor for me, coming back to a college and being a speaker at a School of Business Administration dinner. This is really a big honor. Serving on the Board of Trustees for the last 3 years has truly been an incredible learning experience, and I've fully enjoyed it. Work with some phenomenal people, working with the professionals that run this college has truly been just an exceptional learning experience for me. And in fact, I have a couple of examples for you. Academics have they're incredibly intelligent people, and they have a great big vocabulary that they like to use on simple construction-minded guys like me. So there are a couple words that I have come to fully enjoy, and I try to use them as regularly as I can. The first word came from President Thomas, and it is matriculation. The second word, I'm still not completely sure what this means, that it came from Provost Barbara Morris, and the word is pedagogy. The method and practice of teaching as an academic subject or theoretical concept. If I find the opportunity to slip either one of these words into this evening's discussion, I would really like for you to interrupt me with an outburst of applause, okay? In the spirit of lifelong learning. No doubt we're all proud of Fort Lewis College and the business school, but I want to give you some things that you can really sink your teeth into. The AACSB is the Association to Advance Collegiate Schools in Business. The AACSB was developed in 1916, and some of the founding schools involved with the AACSB were Columbia University, Purdue, Dartmouth, Harvard, New York University, Tulane, Northwest. These are some very impressive schools that were the founding starting members of the AACSB. You should be proud of the fact that Fort Lewis has been continuously accredited by the AACSB since 1974. Today, Fort Lewis is amongst just 7 other schools in Colorado and New Mexico that are accredited by AACSB. Those schools include CU, CSU, University of Denver, the Air Force Academy, New Mexico State, University of New Mexico, and University of Northern Colorado. In case I was being too careful with my words, I'll say clearly that Fort Lewis is the only school on the western slope of Colorado with an AACSB affiliation, and we should be very proud of that. That's a big deal. We've all heard the statistics about the earning potential of college graduates. On average, a college graduate will enjoy a premium of over $1 million in their career, over the course of their career. It's a big deal. Keep that in mind when the Fort Lewis College fundraisers reach out to you sometime in the next couple of months. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that the most important thing is to go out and make money. Primarily because I'm saving that for the School of Arts and Sciences dinner. Just kidding, Dean Brandon. Just kidding, Amy. That was the singer. I warned you about it. She's coming. On to some more serious things. We celebrate a diverse learning environment here at Fort Lewis College. I hope that what I'm about to say doesn't come across too corny, because I think it has the potential of being a little corny. But I was speaking to you from my heart when I tell you the following things. This observation has come to me over the last 3 years of being on this board, and it has reminded me of the times when I was here as a student, also being true. What I'm talking about is a hidden, rarely talked about strength that you, as recent graduates, faculty, community members, may agree with, may understand what I'm talking about. This strength is not easily defined. However, because it is so rarely found in our world today, it really stands out like a sore thumb at Fort Lewis College. What I'm talking about is a certain type of respect and value that we treat differing opinions, differing backgrounds, differing heritage and viewpoints here at FLC. It truly is something that, at a time when our country is more polarized than perhaps any other time since maybe the Civil War, whether we're talking about the media is incredibly polarized. Our entire country is. Politics certainly are. And it's not that we may not have differing opinions in Fort Lewis, but the reality is that we respect one another. And when I came back to Fort Lewis and was on this board as a fairly conservative individual, there have been some times when I have been met with some different ideas. Often I've been wrong and have been met with a certain level of respect that's refreshing, something that I really appreciate. And I actually feel like it's part of the liberal arts program. I think it's part of the culture. It's part of our pedagogy, actually. I've witnessed on a number of occasions two vastly different opinions being discussed by Fort Lewis stakeholders. Players tend to listen, carefully consider one another's opinions, and respectfully understand the thoughts of the other person. Obviously, it's not always exactly as I've described it, but I think it happens more often than it does in the rest of the world. I believe there's a chance that perhaps you've honed a skill here at Fort Lewis that you don't even know about yet. It may be a skill when you get out in the business world, that you have a particularly strong ability to understand other opinions. You have a particularly strong ability to communicate your own. And I think that at the end of the day, all of the things that we talk about with regards to a liberal arts school are vitally important, but perhaps in the business world, what I just described may be the most important. In fact, Aristotle said it's a mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. And I think something that's in practice here at Fort Lewis. I'd like to take a second and just share with you an example of how the Fort Lewis experience helped carve my career. I came to Fort Lewis in the fall of 1993 and set out on an aggressive plan to graduate in just 5 years. It wasn't in a big hurry. My dream was to manage big cattle operations. And so I was an animal science ag business major. And after meeting with some folks at Fort Lewis, I, after 2 years, switched my major to business administration, but continued to take some agricultural courses. As part of the liberal arts curriculum, I took a English critical writing class, probably most of us in here have. And that's when I heard about the Environmental Club, the Environmental Center. We had a group who was actively protesting agricultural issues during this critical writing class. In the spirit of liberal education, I joined the club. And back to what I was talking about a moment ago, I was welcomed there. I may have dressed a little bit differently, had a little different outlook on some things, but the reality is my ideas were respected there. The fact that I was there, I was welcomed there. And that goes to show that Fort Lewis is a little different place. And I think it is part of the liberal arts curriculum. Part of it, we're accepting people as part of our program. And so I joined the club, met some great people, actually learned a tremendous amount about some of the environmental issues locally and around agriculture. This is relevant later in my story. So after graduating, I accepted a job with Wachovia Bank on the East Coast. I spent my days on the East Coast with a tie around my neck, dreaming about being on a ranch somewhere in the West. And I made it 14 months before somebody told me that I had to stay there for at least 12 months or you ruin your whole future finding another job. So I stuck it out for 14 months and accepted a position, which was just incredibly fortunate, working for the largest bison ranch in the world in DuBois, Idaho. And so packed up, moved to Idaho, and running a portion of the ranch. So it turns out that one of the first business, it turns out one of their hiring requirements, they were looking for a business student with some banking experience, and I had about 14 months of banking experience. It worked out perfect. One of my first tasks in the new role was to work out some very challenging political issues going on with our grazing permits, ironically. So here I've been just a few years earlier in Fort Lewis, involved in this environmental club. This is just one example. I'm sure everybody in here has these type of things that happen. This is what happens when you're at a liberal arts school. We hosted a number of interest group discussions where we had, our goal was to substitute cattle permits. If you're familiar with the grazing, the way National Forest and BLM is grazed, we had a certain number of cattle allotments, and our goal was to convert those to bison allotments. We're the first, and to this day, I think maybe the only ranch that actually grazed bison on the National Forest. If you can imagine bison cow-calf pairs up on Missionary Ridge would be it was pretty unique. But as part of that process, in order to approve our application, we needed to have regular quarterly discussions with interest groups. Because of this experience that I had at Fort Lewis, I knew the language, I knew some of the things that were keywords, holistic range management, riparian area management, and some of those things from the friends that I made at the Environmental Center. And ultimately, we were able to work through a lot of those types of issues. Very odd connection, but it works. It's one of the things you don't know what you don't know what you're going to bump into later. One of my favorite examples of the liberal arts program is a friend of mine, Greg Kelsey. I think there's some people in here that know Greg. I know John does. Greg was an art major here at Fort Lewis. He graduated about 1998. And Greg took a sculpting class as part of this program. And sculpting 101 is like stick figures. You know, you're hoping for some be able to tell something what this is. And he was initially a business major, but he took this sculpting class. And it turned out that his very first piece, the professor was astonished to find out this guy is a natural. And he actually shipped off his first piece and had it bronzed. And it launched an incredibly successful career. He lives here in Durango, has artwork all over the country. He's a nationally recognized artist. And I think if it wasn't for the program requiring him to take a mix of different classes, he probably would have never found those skills. So I want to just talk a little bit about the facilities, and then I want to show you this video. We talked a little bit about some of the things that have changed at Fort Lewis. I know Dr. Dodson affirmed that there's certainly been some big improvements on campus, right? Yeah. Yeah, you remember when the school business building fell in because of the snowstorm? Yeah. Actually received so much snow that the business school collapsed. This was the year before I started here. Some of the other big events. How many people remember the bizarre row of small house bungalows north of the business school that were the family housing bungalows? Yeah. Or the registration process that was a exercise in survival of the fittest, if I remember it correctly. Remember you had little index cards that raced to each of these booths upstairs and mile-long lines. Well, in case you don't believe me, I've got this video I'm going to show you, okay? And I'll cut it off after just a couple minutes.
San Juan Mountains and the red rimmed deserts of the Southwest, Fort Lewis College in Durango, Colorado has the environment, the programs, and the faculty to prepare you for an enriching, rewarding career. Whether you want a degree in the arts, the sciences, in business, or education, our liberal arts program will work for you. You'll get a solid foundation in your major and develop the lifelong learning skills you'll need to adapt to an ever-changing future. And that's important as you prepare for a career in the 21st century.
Liberal arts gives you a broad-based experience. It gave me a background that I felt much more comfortable with handling new situations. I'm not scared when I approach a different situation because odds are I've been exposed to it in one way or another. I think that's very appropriate for the 90s where people are changing careers 6 and 7 times.
You'll take courses in the arts, the social sciences, history, math, English, and several of the hard sciences like chemistry and biology. This broad-based foundation allows you to explore ideas, to understand the values of other cultures, and to appreciate the complexities of social and political issues around you. After this general introduction, you'll study in depth by selecting one of 24 majors offered at Fort Lewis. Ultimately, you'll learn that you play an important role in making the world a better place to live.
What they see modeled at Fort Lewis is lifelong learners. People are instructing them that are interested and involved in learning all the time, that they don't just settle in one spot and never have that interest again. So what it did for me was opened up the whole area of lifelong learning, of going back and learning more, being interested in music and art and continuing your education throughout your life.
The people who help you prepare for your career, the faculty and staff of Fort Lewis College, are recruited from the best colleges and universities in the country. And while many could work anywhere in the country, they're here because we love to teach. It shows. In the last 3 years, 2 of the Case Professors of the Year for Colorado have been Fort Lewis faculty members, Doreen Mays in chemistry and Dwayne Smith in history. They're totally different faculty members with different styles, different strengths, but they're united by excellence in the classroom and the desire to pull excellence from their students.
Given the fact that we're a low tuition institution, the quality of faculty is truly amazing, with 87% having a PhD. But there are no TAs, there are no GAs, all those faculty teach, they love to teach. They bring in grants, but the grants, totaling over $3 million in the last 2 years, are all focused on undergraduate research, which means undergraduate students and faculty working hand in hand. Their quality has been recognized nationally and statewide with several programs of excellence awards and several outstanding grants from nationally competitive agencies and organizations. It's a great deal for an undergraduate student.
Students and faculty have ample opportunity to get to know one another and to work together on projects.
I liked the atmosphere. It was very pretty up here, and I liked how they had a really good liberal arts education.
My counselor in high school, she went to Fort Lewis College, and she said that it would be a place where I could really enjoy the college experience.
Mainly the size difference and the fact that we don't have fraternities and sororities here, which is wonderful.
The main thing I like is the one-on-one with the teachers, with the instructors.
Being nervous about coming to a college, I wanted to feel like I wanted a smaller atmosphere, somewhere where I felt I belonged.
To get a mixture of ethnic minorities that are in the southwestern area.
My counselor in high school said that there was a college in Durango, so I said, well, that's the place for me because those mountains are there, and that was actually the sole reason I came down here.
Why does it all happen here at Fort Lewis? And it certainly is unique amongst the Rocky Mountain schools and really in the West. We've got a group of students that I think they come from such a wide background that they seem to, it's a different environment than other places where I've taught, where all the students were more homogeneous in terms of their ability and even their financial backgrounds and so forth. And so there seems to be an innate curiosity on the part of our students but they are interested in trying something new, that they're willing to, might say, take a risk.
Students who need additional help with tutoring or who want to bone up on study skills will find it at the Learning Assistance Center.
I can get you a copy of this if anybody's interested. It's also in the archives. So, as you can see on the video, there's a lot of improvements that have taken place on campus. I think back to the student union. Look at this incredible facility that's there now. You'd be really happy to bring somebody up for lunch or have your folks come join you for lunch. That's the old student union building was nothing like that, I assure you. I'm going to wrap this up. As Mark Twain said, the conclusion is the point where you get tired of thinking. Just a couple thoughts. I liked what this professor said at the end when he mentioned that Fort Lewis students might take a little more risk, I think, than some. And, I was thinking about how to say this. Ty Cobb was known for being the greatest baseball batter, the greatest baseball average in the history of professional baseball. His batting average was .306 as a professional, as a career. And nobody's ever said it. That means he failed 2/3 of the time. Over 6/10 of the time, struck out. Failure is all in how you see it. Failure is in the perception, and I really feel like taking some risk is more of a learning procedure. Your greatest learning experiences come from taking risks. I encourage you to go out. You're about to embark, those of you that are going to graduate this year, next year, on a huge adventure, just a really fun adventure. Coming here to Fort Lewis, I'm sure has been a fantastic adventure, but your career is also going to be an equally exciting opportunity for you. And I think with that, I'll wrap it up. Thank you so much for letting me come join you at your dinner this evening. This has really been a pleasure to be here. Thank you.